Okay, so this is the Earth, and on this planet, there's a pretty popular holiday called Pi Day, and it is, to my knowledge, the only day where we celebrate mathematics. That is, frankly, sad for two reasons. One, there's only one day a year that people celebrate mathematics, and two, Pi Day being March 14th is extremely poorly chosen as the representative day for mathematics. First, we'll cover a couple of reasons that Pi Day is a bad fit for a mathematical holiday. Then I'll discuss the far better options for days to have our math party. The biggest problem with Pi Day is it was chosen using the same methodology as Star Wars Day. That method being the much respected thing superficially looks like other thing. Don't ask any more questions. Don't think about it too much. While this may be okay for choosing the day to celebrate our favorite fictional universe, it is well below the threshold for mathematics. What's the problem with picking things superficially, you might ask? Well, we first need to cover what pi is. If I go to Wikipedia, it will tell me that pi is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, the value of which is approximately 3.14. Or said differently, pi is 3 and 14/100ths circle diameters to circle circumferi. Now let's think about the procedure we are using to determine pi day. First, we take the number of the month and drop the units. Next, we take the number of days into that month, drop the units again, and divide it by 100. Then we add the two. We've chosen not only to ignore units, but to mix them as well. I know we've got to start training early if we're going to crash those probes into Mars. But wait, March actually isn't 3 months into the year. We've only lived through about 2.5 months when Pi Day rolls around. We've encountered a classic off by one error. We could choose a day for Pi Day that is 3.14 months into the year, which one could argue is a better choice for Pi Day because we aren't mixing units. This day would be about 96 days into the year, or approximately April 6th. Still a bad choice for a math celebration day, but it would be more counting base independent and therefore better. Speaking of which, Pi Day isn't counting base independent. If we look at the value of pi in different counting bases, which I didn't bother to check for accuracy until I was about halfway through my script, we'll see that it's a list of numbers. Anyway, to do this check, we need to figure out how many digits 31 is in each counting base. I'm assuming we're keeping our poorly designed calendar. 31 is the most number of days in a month, which means it will be the number of digits used to represent the day of the month in each counting system. I've made a spreadsheet of pi in different bases and the value of the conversion to a Pi Day style holiday. Let me explain this a little. This column represents pi in the different bases. Then I have a column that is the number 31 in different bases. This is to judge how many places after the decimal point I should use. I've then taken the decimal for each number and either truncated it or rounded it to the appropriate number of decimal places. Then I convert that number back into base 10. As you can see, the only one that equals 14 is for base 10. A Pi Day style holiday isn't even possible for base 16 because the number we get from the operation is bigger than 31. Why doesn't this work? Why isn't Pi Day the same day regardless of base? One, we're treating a whole number like a decimal place. March 14th is 14 whole days into the month, not 0.14 months into a month, which I said would be better. I'll leave that exercise to the reader. Two, those numbers are pi in their respective bases. These are the far right two columns in my spreadsheet. They're all pretty much equal to converting base on the round and truncated numbers. Just to give an example, so if we look at pi in base 2, you can see that the whole numbers left of the decimal converts the fourth place 14. So this converts to 4 or 5. But if we treat, why should you care? As someone who supposedly cares about math, it should matter that the procedure you are using to determine your holiday doesn't preserve the value of a number across different bases. Pi should be pi regardless of the base. So we've covered why Pi Day is a bad fit. 1, it ignores, then mixes units. 2, it commits an off by 1 error. And 3, it doesn't preserve the value of pi across bases. But is there a better option? Let me step back for a moment. I still don't think I'm seeing the bigger picture. Let's unenhance some more. Still not seeing it. I just don't think there's any relationship between a year and pi, or circles. There's just no way a year relates to a circle. I guess we're stuck with March 14th as Pi Day. What a complete travesty. Oh, wait, that's what a year is. It's a circle. Close enough. I don't want to hear it. So let's just make the end of the year Pi Day and we're done. Not so fast. For one, New Year's is already celebrated. We couldn't convince everyone to celebrate it for its mathematical significance. There's actually a better solution. We can find when in the year we've traveled an Earth's orbit diameter or radius around the sun and make that into a holiday. So a year is 365 days. We divide that by pi and we get 116.2. And if we divide it by 2 pi, we get 58.1. So our holiday would be 58 days into the year, or more specifically, the 59th Julian day to avoid another off by one error, and because it works out a little better. This, conveniently, is the last day of February, February 28th. We can call this day Radius Day, or R Day for short. It's when we've traveled a radian around the sun. That's pretty neat. February 28th is Radius Day. Then 116 days into the year, or day 117 of the year, would be April 27th. We can call this Diameter Day, or D-Day, 2R Day for short. I've gone ahead and calculated the exact date and time for each radius day throughout the year. Feel free to check my work and post any corrections. To wrap it up on radian days, they are more mathematically and geometrically significant, and there are 6 of them throughout the year. Who wouldn't want to celebrate math 6 times a year? But I'm forgetting the most important part of why we celebrate Pi Day. We celebrate it because pi sounds like pie, and we just want an excuse to eat pie. Have no fear. As you can see on my calendar, there is a Pi R Day and a 2 Pi R Day. I've already covered why 2 Pi R Day doesn't work, but you go ahead and be the annoying one at New Year's celebration telling everyone that we should be celebrating 2 Pi R Day instead. The more tantalizing day is Pi R Day, which falls on 2 July. We could celebrate Pi R Day with half pies wearing eye patches or something. I'm sure people could get clever with how to celebrate the different radius days as well. Let me know in the comments. To conclude, the importance of pi isn't the particular digits used to represent it in base 10. The importance of pi is that there exists a number for all circles that relates the radius and diameter of that circle to its circumference. With Pi Day, we are celebrating the representation of pi and ignoring the meaning. If, on the other hand, we celebrate Pi R Day and the various radius days, we will be acknowledging the meaning of pi. It is possible to have our pi and it means something too. Happy Pi R Day, everyone.